I haven't always been willing or courageous enough to tell my story. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I could even speak about my life, my family of origin, or my journey of healing, without consistently breaking down into a lake of tears. You see, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, my life was deeply layered with adversity. Last week, I shared a Facebook post inviting heart-centered friends to this most important luncheon. One of my personal champions of 2015, Beata Jaholski-Baker, posted this in response. You are such a proactive champion of good and noble organizations. Bless you for your generosity and your passion. Beata stirred much in me. My reply: as you know, regarding my compounding adversity since childhood, it was more than just what my words tried to express. I was going down quickly with the aftermath of abandonment ×2, sexual assault in middle school, poverty, date rape at 21, domestic violence, and a short stint with homelessness, and much, much more. At the core of my essence, I had a very shattered identity. I needed a lot of pausing, a lot of care, a lot of hope, and even more healing. Seriously, thank God that he kept me in his grip, especially when tangible people weren't readily around. In my childhood, assistance came from food stamps, powdered milk, and block cheese. Relationship lessons seemed to be learned from soap operas, something I don't recommend for your kiddos. In my adulthood, when I was supposed to have it all together, but didn't, there were organizations that showed up like the Assistance League of the Eastside and LifeWire. They were a lifeline. I am still in amazement that not only was I spared, but for some years now, I've been mostly healthy, peaceful, and stable, and I'm now able to give back. Beata, when organizations and people impact your life at the cellular level, you can't help but want to help them do it for others. My passion, that comes from belief in possibilities and what can be. Generosity, that comes from having received and growing beyond a poverty mindset. With tears in my eyes, Beata, by your post, you've helped me reconnect to the tenderness of heart, his, those who have paused and stopped for me, and my own. In this moment, I find more adequate words to describe the reality of my upbringing. I signed off from that fake Facebook post with, if I can do it, if motivational and inspirational speaker Les Brown can do it, so can others. Good afternoon. My name is Kim Peterson, and my past does not define me. I now know it has prepared me for such a time as this. The Assistance League of the Eastside dispenses hope, and the work they do makes a monumental impact in our community and the individuals they serve. Today, I hope to illustrate this by sharing some of my personal story and the stories of others I've gotten to know since volunteering last year. While the challenges I describe are real, and yeah, they're raw, regardless of the darkest days, one can be safe, one can find hope, and one can be a productive member in society. I am living proof of that, and I very, very humbly consider myself a modern-day miracle. The mission of the Assistance League of the Eastside is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization that puts caring and commitment into action through community-based philanthropic programs to make a positive difference in the lives of children and adults touched by hardship and violence. In my personal experience, members of the Assistance League of the Eastside and their community of volunteers have hearts that are generous and non-judgmental. Out of respect, love, compassion, and kindness to treat everyone like a human being, they understand that if they can be a part of offering a hand up, in the moments of crisis and transition, the people they serve can maintain a sense of dignity, and with a sense of worthiness, take the next step into what's possible for their own lives. No, we are not defined by our past or our mistakes or by our circumstances. That said, Don't we know how cruel society can be? Don't we? And what about our own limiting beliefs about who we are and the value we bring to the world? Because research indicates that we operate out of our belief system, it is absolutely imperative that we challenge the limiting beliefs about who we think we are, that we challenge the limiting beliefs of our past story, that we champion the truth of who we are, lest we be misguided down the wrong path. Frank Outlaw and Lao Tse says this: watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for it becomes your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. That said, when in moments of crisis occur, we don't always have what it takes to watch our thoughts, do we? But that's precisely when we need to draft out the positive thoughts and the belief that others have in us. The Assistance League of the Eastside, they believe. Believing that every person is worthy of having basic needs met, the Assistance League of the Eastside opens the door to hope. Seeing with eyes of possibility, they hold a mirror, so to speak. Hold a mirror and look beyond what is, and offers hope through care in action to meet real and practical needs. The work they do is not sexy. Nope, it's not glamorous, but it is about making a positive difference, and it reaches far beyond just practical needs. The work they do touches the heart and helps reshape identity. The Assistance League of the Eastside pauses to see the needs of those who society often deems invisible, and makes deposits of love that undoubtedly elevate one's self-esteem and inspires a confidence which will have a compounding effect over a lifetime. Similar to my work as a personal style and brand consultant, they desire to champion the clients, champion their confident breakthroughs for something much, much better. That said, I'm deeply honored to tell you more about their philanthropic programs with some of my story at the backdrop. Each year, through the Operation School Bell program, volunteers organize shopping events for over 4,000 students in need who are selected by school district personnel from the Lake Washington, North Shore, and Bellevue school districts. Knowing that setbacks don't have to immobilize these kids, Assistance League of the Eastside breaks down barriers to success in school by providing children in need with a shopping experience to select brand new clothes in just their own style, to feel great about their appearance. They really support the belief that new school clothes help increase the self-esteem and confidence, thus contributing to a strong foundation for a child's successful school experience. Last week, I woke up with a middle school memory. It was the beginning of a brand new school year, and I didn't have much. I didn't have much at all, but I do recall feeling really proud about a brand new pair of jeans. They were Lawman jeans. Does anybody know about those? Raise your hand. I need to see who. Yes, Lawman jeans. They were everything and more. So I thought. Sadly, one day when I was walking to school, I tripped on a rock and fell forward, skinning both of my knees. And on the left knee, I had a big L-shaped tear. I didn't have money to replace them. And so day after day, week after week, and month after month, I went to school with a big tear in my jeans. I was mortified and it was embarrassing. It certainly didn't add to my personal confidence, you see, because kids teased me quite a bit at school, calling me ugly, bush monkey, and far worse names. This was a real rough season in life for me. Here's a picture of me at 12 or 13. You see, at a very early age, I learned that I was unworthy, that I was unlovable, that I was invisible. You see, I was adopted as an infant into a white family, and yes, I love white people. So we're in good shape here. But I was adopted into a white family, and I was the 5th child. And at that time, we lived in Des Moines. By the time I was 6 years old, my parents divorced. The older 2 kids were old enough to go live with friends or live on their own, but my dad took the middle 2 children and moved to Bellevue and started a beautiful, glamorous life. It was at that time that I was suddenly an only child, and it was at that time I knew there was something inherently wrong with me. At school, I was definitely judged and teased because I was judged and teased looking like that. You know, for lots of reasons I was judged. One, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I had no resources, so I ate them, and I became a little bit overweight, so they judged me for my weight and my body. I also grew up in poverty. From 4th grade to 12th grade, I lived in condemned housing. I remember vividly right now waking up in the middle of the night to use the restroom and stepping on slugs because that's what my living conditions were. We had a big bay window, and it was always filled with carpenter ants. And they would always get stuck in this long spiral curly hair, and the only way I could get them out, true story, is by taking an old mayonnaise jar and putting my hair in it and taking the lid and sliding it through until that ant would fall. I didn't belong in the white community, I didn't belong in the black community, I didn't belong in school, and I didn't belong with my family. When I was just about 12 years old, I was sexually assaulted, and that was far too much shame that this little girl could ever even deal with. I just wasn't enough. I want you to know you have to challenge the limiting beliefs of who you are, because I did not, and those beliefs went with me and so far and deep into my subconscious that I woke up out of a sleepwalking episode in the kitchen one night with a butcher knife. But what I want you to know is my life had purpose very clearly. My life had meaning, and again, perhaps it was for a time such as this. While I thought I wasn't enough, I also felt like I was a freak in my own skin. Never comfortable or confident in my own skin, frenetic in my mind, always going. Do they like me? Do I belong? Where's the exit? How can I hide? Don't see me. Keep me invisible. Perhaps some of you all can relate. Oh, what it would have been like to have Operation School Bell made available to me. When the world feels weighty and on your shoulders as a kid and you don't have a sense of family and finances to fall back on, you are desperate for someone to see you. While my mom and I didn't receive much help, we got some from the government, but it never included school clothes. And to this kid, it seems that's what really mattered most. Clothing back then was like armor. If I looked good enough and I wore the right clothes, perhaps I wouldn't get picked on at school. Perhaps I would feel more comfortable and confident in my own skin. As a matter of fact, I was that little girl who would stand in front of a full-length mirror from Kmart, no less, and I would spend hours and hours the night before each school day just to find an outfit that I felt comfortable in. I laugh now because I think, gosh, that might be a skill that's helping me be successful at the art of dressing and championing my clients to do the same. Silver lining. That said, Operation School Bell did help my family. In August of 2014, my then 13-year-old nephew, who was very much at risk, came to visit from San Diego for a vacation. Unexpectedly, before we ever even got home from the airport, he asked me, "Auntie, can I come and live with you and Uncle Kelly? I want to end the cycle in my family. I want a shot at success and education, and I think I would have a chance with you guys." A little background on my husband and I. We had only been married just over a year at that time. We had no children of our own, and we both had independent consulting careers. That meant that we had to pay for our own health insurance, and we were also uncertain of our income on a month-to-month basis. If we took our nephew, how would we do it? That said, my husband and I try and live by our values because, you see, I finally learned that when my values are clear, my decisions are easy. That said, we knew that we valued being in relationship with D. We valued championing him and being his very best self in the world. If there was going to be people who could be the stability for him, it was likely going to be us. Now, I won't share too much of D's story because it is his, but I will say this. I used to say, I don't know how many people who have ever had the relentless kind of compounding adversity that I had had in my youth. But as I stayed present to my nephew's story over the years, and as he had trusted me to share some of that with me, I realized quickly that he had trumped my story by the time he was just 13 years old. That said, we said yes. We said yes, you can come and live with us. It was a whirlwind marathon kind of a weekend. Immediately we went shopping. We bought school supplies, school clothes. We transformed his bedroom to make it just his own. I'll never forget, Dee said something like this: "Wow, Auntie, you must really love me. You must have a powerful kind of auntie love to work like this and get it all done in just 3 days." I did, we did, and we do. Because just like the Assistance League of the Eastside, we wanted to demonstrate care in action. We wanted him to feel loved, seen, and important, worthy of a chance at success. School was overwhelming for Dee, to say the least. Carol Hendrickson, perhaps you know her, is a school counselor, and she knew just how to put him at ease, and she knew just how to come alongside me and teach me what it meant to be a parent. Wow, was that a steep learning curve. She is one amazing woman, and I need you to know that. One day she sent Dee home with a note saying he could participate in Operation School Bell. And then she followed up with a call, and I said, no, go ahead and give that to someone who really needs that, but thank you. And in that moment, I realized that we needed that. Now, I don't know if you can imagine what the magnitude is of saying yes to the possibilities of a future and a hope to a young boy, especially when you're not a parent, especially when it's a boy, and he's 13 with significant needs. Dee became my priority, and I put my career as a personal style and brand consultant on hold so I could be fully present to my new role. What does he need? How do I create the right balance of love and discipline? And as his greater needs showed up, how do I find the courage to have the tough conversations and still leave him with a sense of dignity? How would we afford him for 6 years? Operation School Bell softened that financial and emotional burden I was trying not to feel. Specifically, Dee was able to buy a brand new pair of Nikes and pick out a pair of shoes for his upcoming orchestra concert. He loved to play the violin. I was so overwhelmed with gratitude for both the Assistance League of the Eastside, Operation School Bell, and Carol Hendrickson. I remember the tears just coming down. We realized we were not alone. Last year, I got to participate in Operation School Bell, and the pictures are worth 1,000 words. Please meet Afton. She was so excited, I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen. She was gasping. Do you remember that, Chrissy? She was so excited going through her basket, gasping at the new clothes. So I asked her, I said, would you put on that bomber? I just would love to see what it looks like on you. I wonder what you think Operation School Bell meant to Afton. This is Evada and Rosangela, beautiful little girls, and they had so much fun picking out those dresses. You see, when kids feel connected to their identity that is healthy and a healthy sense of self-esteem, they show up like that. They play and they're connected to who they are and they show up. So much fun. I'll never forget that. This was just from last week. This is Olivia. And you know what? If you ask these kids to participate with you and help them, ask them to help you add up the math, they'll do it. They'll work with you, not just receive from you. Our community volunteers also knit hats and scarves, and each kid gets one of those on their way out. And this is one of my favorite pictures of the night. Look at this, is a family of 3. And no doubt the Superman hats, those were a crowd favorite. That said, as you know, Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And it is our greatest desire that we as members and community volunteers of the Assistance League of the Eastside, we make indelible impressions and help these kids feel loved and valued and worthy. Starting over support. Sometimes due to domestic violence, women and children, and sometimes men, they need to run now and find a safe place. In times such as these, basic essentials often get left behind. Starting Over Support works with the LifeWire program and DAWN, which is Domestic Abuse Women's Network, to identify essential support for victims entering emergency housing. Welcome baskets are assembled for delivery for the shelters and include towels, laundry detergent, hair dryers, and hygiene kits. Bringing a sense of normalcy, the Starting Over team even organizes Christmas parties, parent and teen events, and on Mother's Day, all of the moms will receive special flowers. One unexpected outcome is mutual friendship that is formed by both the volunteers and the survivors. I want to share with you my story. You see, research indicates that 1 of every 4 women around the United States suffers at the hands of domestic violence. 1 of every 3 men do as well. And yes, that means that the affluent women and men on our East Side are also suffering. And such was the case for me back in 1997 for a few years. I remember sitting in the domestic violence support group at LifeWire, formerly called Eastside Domestic Violence Program. I remember thinking, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I'm college educated. I'm a woman of faith. I live in Kirkland. I don't fit the profile. But the truth is, yes, I did. I attended their weekly support group for 2 entire years. It was my place to heal, to feel normal, to feel safe, and it was my time to get educated on what domestic violence really is. It's about power and control, and I began to heal. It was in between those 4 walls that I said, my entire life I've wanted to fit in and belong, but I never really did. But what I learned and what I shared is this: I belong with me. It is quite something to learn 18 years later that it was the Assistance League of the East Side who was and is a partner to LifeWire. That is the very organization who supported me 18 years ago. What an honor to stand in and speak up on behalf of that organization today. Thank you. Help for Homeless has served almost 6,000 individuals over the years. The Assistance League of the East Side works together with local agencies to include Friends of Youth and the Sophia Way to provide daily living items and support to those experiencing homelessness. Have you ever been homeless? It can happen to anyone. Such was the case for me again. I experienced it for a short time in my late 20s coming out of that domestic violence marriage. Having been cut off from bank accounts, having just moved back from Washington or to Washington from out of state, I did find a temp job, but I didn't have anywhere to live. Some friends of mine had just moved out of state and said, you can stay on the floor in our vacant house until it sells, because it was on the market. I can't remember how long I slept on that floor. It was for a bit, until I met Jeff and Tara Cole, brand new acquaintances who got the story out of me and invited me to come and live with them. Interesting to note, it is ironic that it was 16 years ago when I was sleeping homeless on that floor that I started my business as a personal style and brand consultant, owner of Uniquely Savvy. Assistance League outreach was launched in 2007 and collaborates with other local agencies and strategies to help fill specific, short-term, unmet needs in a timely and responsive way. Some of the agencies that have been supported are Backpack Meals, Family Connection Center, Eastside Baby Corner, and Harborview Medical Center. Assault Survivor Kits. The Assistance League of the Eastside cares about the dignity of assault victims. Assault Survivor Kits is a program that touches all ages in our community by providing a sweatsuit and personal care items to assault survivors when clothing is retained as evidence. Without this program, the already traumatized victims face the prospect of leaving the hospital in a paper gown. Debbie, who is a survivor, writes this: I remember them bringing in the kit. I've never been so happy to have a pair of sweats in my life. Just something small like some clothes to wear when you've been exposed for a great deal of time that lets you cover up and feel a little bit of warmth. To the people who are providing these kits, thank you. It helps a lot. Thank you. What an honor it was to work with this crew to assemble these kits. I want you to know that there is a card that is included with each and every kit that goes out, and it is beautiful and it is worthy of me reading it today. Greetings. We hope you find comfort in this gift from the Assistance League of the Eastside. You should be proud of the steps you have taken to rise above the circumstance that brought you here today. It is our sincere belief that your strength and courage will continue to help you in the days ahead. Please know there are many people in the community who care about you and are wishing you a future filled with hope and happiness. Could you imagine receiving that? Since inception, this program has provided support to over 19,000 survivors of domestic or sexual assault. The transformation. Now, as my life story intersects with all 5 of these programs, it may seem that I came into this world destined to fail, but I did not. E.E. Cummings wrote, "It takes a lot of courage to grow up and become who you really are." Can you relate? You see, everybody has a story. You all have a story. The clients of the Assistance League of the Eastside each have a story. You've heard a bit of my story, but because I just had an amazing, tremendous, profound learning experience from watching 5 little tiny caterpillars transform into the butterflies they were created to be, I'm going to share with you about the journey of becoming who you are supposed to be. I will illustrate this by talking about the 4 life stages of a butterfly. Those stages are survival, stability, success, and significance. Stage 1, survival. In the cycle of a butterfly's life, the eggs are vulnerable to predators and other conditions, the fierce winds of adversity that might blow. They're just trying to hang on and make it to the next stage. I feel that the many layers of my life and many years of my life were in survival mode, enduring not just the visible adversities, but the unseen as well. I was also surviving the unseen wounds of shame, guilt, despair, and even anger. Stage 2, stability. Stability comes when the now hatched egg becomes a caterpillar and is getting the nourishment it needs, and it begins to grow. The same stability came for me as I began to receive spiritual, emotional, and mental nourishment, education, and support received from organizations just like the Assistance League of the Eastside. Stage 3, success. Success for a caterpillar is when it finally cocoons itself into a chrysalis and it goes through metamorphosis. This is the time where it's getting adult tissues and structures and prepares itself to emerge into new life as a butterfly. For me, Success meant like experiencing forgiveness of myself and others, to include my dad here. You see, I had a deep father wound, and forgiveness and resolve and love came just at the right time, because I was invited to reach out to him and make a call after he wasn't returning my calls for a full year. I didn't want to, because it kind of started to feel like rejection, but I got a download and I said, okay, I'll do it. And in that moment I called and my dad picked up, and he was so happy, and it was light and it was beautiful, and he got off the phone saying, I love you, and I love you too, Dad. Success feels like forgiveness, because it was a week to the day later that my dad unexpectedly dropped of a heart attack. That feels like success to me, that story. You see, I felt like the luckiest little girl. And could you imagine if I hadn't called him? Could you imagine what the story would be here today? But no, this is a success story in the stage of success in the life of a butterfly. This also means marrying my college sweetheart, Kelly. And that is an entirely different story, one that we don't have time for today. It also means having a strong sense of peace and living a life of fulfillment and relationship with my provisional God of hope. And professionally, it means achieving entrepreneurial success, having my business championing individuals in their confident breakthroughs in identity, style, and brand 16 years later. That feels like success to me. Stage 4 significance is when a butterfly emerges in all its glory. It offers back beauty into the world, bringing far more than it ever came with. For me, this means self-acceptance, integration of my whole self, living my truth regardless of what other people say. And significant means not just giving back on occasion, but living in contribution as a lifestyle. Like the Assistance League of the Eastside, it's an honor to see people as worthy. It's an honor to have the capacity to look beyond myself finally, and to care about other people's needs, and to take action to make a difference. And while I'm far from having arrived, I never thought life could feel so good. Just last week, I felt a huge growth spurt, and I finally accepted my wings. Butterflies represent hope. And hope is what today is all about, right? Today is all about hope. Now, when I met with Chrissy, the luncheon chair, and Nancy and Danielle, one of the last questions they asked me was this: why do you want to share your story? In that moment, I struggled. I struggled, you might remember. And I couldn't find the words to articulate the why, but as soon as I got in my car to drive off to my next appointment, a song came on. And I will tell you, I don't believe it was a coincidence at all that in that song gave me the answer to the question. With great abandon, that artist said, I share my story because you would hear hope. If I told you my story, you would hear hope that would not let go. If I shared with you my story, you would hear love that never, ever gave up. And if I told you my story, you would hear life, but it wasn't mine. If I should speak, then let it be of the grace, the justice, the mercy, and the kindness that was bestowed on me. And while that song speaks to the hope found in God, people, those suffering financial hardship, abused, and the violated, they need the hope found and given from organizations just like the Assistance League of the Eastside. In closing, I want to leave you with this. In December 2015, my friend Beata, again, held a mirror to me and she said this: who you are is quite remarkable. The adversity you've been through in your life alone is what lives of 3 people could look like, and they would never, ever make it. They would have been taken down, yet you are a phoenix rising. Now, I don't know about that, But what I do know is this. I have to thank you, the Assistance League of the Eastside, for strengthening my resolve to, yes, rise through domestic violence and adversity, through the services I've received through your organization. But I also have to thank you for this opportunity today to stand in and to speak on behalf of those in need right in our own backyard. It has produced an unexpected gift of healing in me. The kind of healing where deep calls unto deep. And it dawned on me. Once again, your organization saw me. You acknowledged the hardship of my past experiences. You validated my truth. You see success in my story, and you deem it worthy to be shared for the hope and the possibilities of the clients you serve. And you celebrate who I have become. You made me visible. You made me visible. And that's healing, more healing than I could ever have imagined when I said yes to speak with you all today. This is what the Assistance League of the Eastside desires for each and every one of the clients they serve. And I believe that today, now more than ever, we need to come together and stand in the gap for those we choose to see. You see, kids are gravely struggling today. And it's not lost on me that while society often turns a blind eye and looks away from the ugly and the messy, it is organizations such as the Assistance League of the Eastside that is looking for the invisible. They go out and they're looking for the people in need in our community, and they create programs to meet that need. They make a difference in the lives of us everyday people, and they absolutely dispense hope. In that, I am called and compelled to call upon the beauty and the exquisite design of the heart, and with boldness speak up and bring voice to the voiceless, and step in and step up into the gap for the invisible. Today, I am free to spread my wings and fly. And if I can do it with your help, we can help the clients of the Assistance League of the Eastside fly as well. Will you help? Will you help them find their wings? My name is Kim Peterson, and I am not defined by my past. Hope beckoned, and like the butterfly, I am free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your story and your words of inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, hold on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.